without a shadow of a doubt that our team is united. Our caucus stands behind our leader, Pierre Poilievre. All of us across the country experienced a great surge in support, whether that meant more volunteers, whether that meant more lawn signs, whether it meant more votes. Today we heard a lot of positive feedback, and the support for Pierre is evident. I think you're going to see that in the weeks and months to come, that we are a united, focused opposition caucus.
Scheer on this program yesterday insisting Conservative caucus supports Pierre Poilievre remaining on as leader. Scheer will serve as leader of the party in the House of Commons when Parliament returns later this month, until Poilievre goes through a by-election in Alberta riding to regain his seat. The NDP, meanwhile, have picked up an interim leader as well in appointing BC MP Don Davies. He's one of just 7 New Democrats elected to sit in the House. Let's bring back our front bench to talk about where those opposition parties go from here. Sharon Carr, Jamie Ellerton, Carl Bélanger, and Hannah Thibodeau. Jamie, I'll start with you. Last week we were talking about the prospects for Pierre Poilievre. In the interim, he kind of laid low until this week. He faced caucus yesterday for the first time, but then also released a video sort of talking about things to a certain degree. We haven't heard like lengthy comments from him yet, but essentially the message from the Conservatives, including the leader, seems to be like, we did a lot, we got very close to the finish line, like we just have to figure out a few things to do more so that we get over the finish line. Do you ultimately think that will be convincing?
Yeah, I think when you look at what Pierre Poilievre is probably going to spend the rest of the spring doing, I think it is going to be laying pretty low, Bashy. I don't think he needs to be in the public spotlight on a day-to-day basis. At the end of the day, we don't really know what Prime Minister Carney's government's going to act like compared to his predecessor. And so rather than trying to mug for the cameras in the foyer of the House of Commons using a guest pass to still talk to media, I think he's probably more accurately wise to be trying to work the phones and traveling across the country, talking with campaigns, grassroots members, and the like, to kind of reshore up support for his leadership. I think there's no genuine movement afoot to try and oust him. And so I don't think that's going to be a hard process for him, but I do think he has to kind of go through that to make sure that that is there, as well as like listen from the grounds. Obviously, during a campaign, some people might have a bit of they fear, if you will, of central HQ and not want to like send truth up the flagpole. And so now that the campaign is settled, I think people are probably going to be more forthcoming and frank, and he'll be able to go on his listening tour and probably, I would assume, taking the Prime Minister at face value, call a by-election this summer and be back in the House of Commons either for the fall or sometime after Thanksgiving.
I'm hearing, Sharon, that behind the scenes, like last week we were talking about, for example, how he was at odds with Ontario's premier and Nova Scotia's premier. I'm hearing behind the scenes that there have been overtures made to talk to those people, to get on the phone, and that there could be calls forthcoming. Ontario's premier Doug Ford today sort of acknowledged that, saying, yeah, I would talk to him. And then, he said essentially he didn't want to take the bait on further questions about where he should run in a by-election. But your view on whether those calls should happen, and basically the approach you would expect from Mr. Poilievre moving forward.
Well, I think it's great that they're talking about it now, but a little too late. And I think the damage has been done in terms of the fact that they never reached out really in the past. And I think it was just a bit of an indication of where the confidence lied within the Conservative Party and Pierre Poilievre, that he kind of felt that he was untouchable. And it's great that they tapped into a new voter base. It's great that he got as far as he did, but he did not get far enough. And I think that Prime Minister Carney was graceful and gracious in saying, listen, no games. You want a by-election? Let's go. But in watching that video, I actually thought the video that Pierre Poilievre put out there was a good video. I thought it was semi-humbling. I think he made a major misstep by not thanking the constituency of Carleton, and maybe that was purposeful. But whether or not he can build some bridges now with Houston and Ford, who there's always speculation around leadership ambitions amongst other Conservatives, I think it's a little too late. I think we have crossed that bridge, and they've kind of burned it as is. But I'm here to watch the plot, to be honest.
Actually, super quickly, if Justin Trudeau and Doug Ford could build a relationship after the 2019 federal campaign, I think Conservative premiers and the federal Conservative leader can get that correct here.
Yeah, there does seem to be, I will say, like, even behind the scenes, people that were angry 2 weeks ago at each other seem to be, saying it's probably better for conservative movements writ large if we're not so publicly angry at each other. Whether that materializes is perhaps a different question, but I do think behind the scenes that's the sense I'm getting. Carl, I got to ask you about the NDP. Don Davies becoming the interim leader. I know he was on this program last week saying that they're going to make a pitch to the Liberals to kind of leverage their own sort of weight, I guess you could say, in the House to try and get official party status. Like, what does the NDP have to do right now?
Well, but that's the low-hanging fruit, because right now they have no resources, no staff, no central staff, that is. And, Don Davies is not a bad choice at all. He's a respected MP, and he could be seen as the architect of the deal the last time regarding Medicare, drug, pharmacare, and dental care. He was the health critic. So, he was part of these discussions. So he has that experience. But it's not like he has clout right now as an interim leader. And it's not like the party's in shape to bring down the government first opportunity. And also, let's keep in mind that the other two parties are also pledged to cooperate with the government. So Mark Carney has a lot of options in Parliament right now. So, it may change when they have a permanent leader. But until then, the capacity of the NDP to leverage will be dependent on the other two parties' decision to not play ball with the Liberals. And if I can just add one little thing about Andrew Scheer, I was listening to him, and I think I heard him say those things before about himself. Caucus United, party support, like how did that turn out? So I'm keeping an eye on that.
I'll also add, just for a bit of historical context, that as I was looking into in one of our producers yesterday doing that interview, in 2019 the caucus voted, they voted not to adopt the Reform Act.
That's right.
So it was seen as like a positive sign after the election for Andrew Scheer's leadership, and yet still he ended up being turfed, kind of given the boot by a number of things. He obviously made that decision, but like a lot preceded it. And in this case, yesterday they did vote, I'm told by 80%, Hannah, to adopt that, which could mean that their caucus itself holds a leadership review. So it's all very like...
I think they want to keep that card in play.
Yeah, but just the fact they want to is interesting.
Yeah, and they did under Mr. O'Toole as well.
Yeah,
they
know where that led.
Yeah, we know where that led to. I just want to mention, you're talking about the opposition leaders here and how this next parliament should work. It's interesting. I'm talking to businesses behind the scenes, Canadians as well, but businesses are like, this is something they want to see. They don't want to see the conflicts that they saw in the last parliament where nothing was getting done. They're saying they want to see these leaders work together. And so far, what they're saying is really positive. And what are we, how many days in now? The fact that, I know, what are we, a week? I can't even keep track anymore.
9.
Just a week. Oh, 9 days, but who's counting? They're seeing positive movement. They're saying, okay, good, we got the election done. Now he went down and he saw the president. Good, tick that off the box. They have a good relationship. Now they're saying, okay, great, the premiers are all getting together. He makes those phone calls to the premiers. He has that open discussion with them. That communication is open. Also the meeting in Saskatchewan, tick. This is from business leaders who want to see things done in this country, and they're seeing positive momentum from the leader currently. So they want to see these parties work together in the House of Commons, and a lot of that blocking of, parliamentary procedures and blocking of legislation, they want that passed.
I don't think you'll see the same kind of paralysis for sure in Parliament.
Nobody is indicating that would be the case.
No,
but we also can't live in a dream world here.
No, and it's also up to Mark Carney to talk to the other leaders to get some compromise going, because it's not all on
that.
It's all nice right now.
It's on
but once the confidence vote starts rolling in, how do we play ball with each other? That's the key.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, thanks, guys. Appreciate the discussion. Our front bench, Sharon Carr, Jamie Allerton, Carl Belanger, and Hannah Thibodeau. Thanks, everyone.